Meeting to order at 9:40 this morning on Tuesday, December 13th. And Mr. Walkingstick, would you do us the honor of the invocation?
Dear Heavenly Father, God, we just thank you for waking us up today, Lord. And God, we just we praise you for life and everything, God. And Lord, we pray for us meeting today, Lord. Just God, give us the sound minds, Father, just for the betterment of Cherokee Nation. And God, we just thank you for everything. We just thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, on the cross. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Walkingstick. Roll call.
Meredith Fraley. Here. Bill England.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Jody Fishinghott. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Frankie Hargis.
Here.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
China Gloria Jordan.
Present.
Lee Keener.
Me.
Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton.
Here.
David Walkingstick.
Here.
Kara Cowan Watts. Honey, we do have a quorum.
And we do have a quorum. Next order is the approval of the November 15th and impeachment subcommittee and regular session in total.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Yeah, that was a weak eye.
Chair,
Yes.
I propose a motion to amend the agenda and to move the nominations to the front of the meeting and move number 9 to number 1. As I understand, Mr. Turner has to leave. Form of a motion.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion on amending the agenda? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Yes, Ms. Coates?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we accept the written reports that have been given to us, but suspend the oral reports unless someone has a specific question on one of the written reports in order that we can get to the business in timely fashion.
Second.
Moved in second to dispense with the oral reports and accept written reports. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. So those reporters, if you're welcome to stay, but if you want to leave, you can leave. So Todd, do you want to leave?
Are you telling me?
Just teasing. Okay. Under new business, we've moved to the front. Mr. Deacon Turner, would you come forward, please? That's item 9. We'll take his nomination first because he does need to leave. Mr. Hoskin, would you like to bring that forward?
Certainly, Madam Speaker, I'm very pleased to move for the approval of Mr. Turner as a member of Cherokee Nation businesses. So with that, I move for its approval.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Count Watts?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know we've talked already, but I wanted it on the record. So could you talk, I know you're an extremely busy person because we've served on other boards. So can you talk to me about your commitment for attending those meetings?
Well, absolutely.
And share that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you all for having me out this morning. I know I talked to a number of you last week that I expected to be in New York. Fortunately, that trip was rescheduled to next week, so I'm glad to be here. Councilor Watts, your question's legitimate. I serve on a number of boards and I travel around the country for my firm. I look at this as a tremendous honor to serve on the board of Cherokee Nation Businesses. And in order to make time to do that, I expect to actually retire from several of my other commitments, since I look at this as essentially taking on an unpaid full-time job.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any other questions? Yes.
Deacon, do you serve on any other boards for Cherokee Nation?
I'm on Cherokee Nation Foundation right now.
And will you be giving up that position?
Well, it would be hard to give up, but if I need to, I will. I strongly support what the foundation's doing for language and education. And I guess I would say if I have to choose, I'll pick Cherokee Nation Business Board, but they'll have a strong supporter in me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you for being here today. All in favor of his nomination signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Welcome.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Safe travels.
I'm sorry, Ms. Calmuth, I failed to tell you, we'll limit these to 3 minutes per person. Some of us have traveling to do, so we'll try to get out of here as soon as possible. Okay, item 1 is confirming the renomination of Ms. McCollum as a board member of the Comprehensive Care Agency. Ms. Gloria Jordan, you want to take that?
Yes, this is Jean McCollum, and this is a resolution to confirm her renomination. She's presently serving on the Cherokee Nation Comprehensive Care Agency, and I will put that in form of a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Ms. McCollum, did you want to say anything?
No, I just thank you for the privilege of serving on the board, and I think it's a really great program.
Thank you for being here. All in favor of this renomination, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Congratulations. Okay, item 2 confirms the renomination of Anthony Yates as a commissioner on the Housing Authority. Janelle, did you want to bring that forward?
Yes, Mr. Yates is our county agent, and he's already been on the board. He's done an outstanding job, and we'd like to see him renominated.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Yes,
Who wants to be added as a sponsor?
Ms. Fishing Hawk wants to be added as a sponsor. And Ms. Gloria, sponsor?
Yes.
Ms. Gloria Jordan. Would you like to say a few words? Would you like to say a few words?
I started in June and learned quite a lot. It's been an honor to serve, and thank you for the opportunity.
All in favor of his nomination, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Item 3 confirms the renomination of John Cripps as a district judge. Mr. Thornton, did you want to bring, Mr. Cripps was...
Is he here?
Oh, that's David Sutherland.
He has court
He is unavailable and he has court, but is available by phone. If we'd like to move him to the bottom of the agenda, we can reach him by phone.
I think we all know Mr. Cripps. Do you make a
Yes,
motion to approve?
I'll-
Do I have a second?
This,
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
One opposition. Okay, item 4 confirms the nomination of Clarice Doyle as an editorial board member. Mr. Hoskin, you want to bring that forward?
Certainly, I'm pleased to move Ms. Doyle's nomination for the Cherokee Phoenix Board.
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Would you like to say a few words?
Well, I'm just honored and humbled to be here and appreciate the thought that I might contribute to something to the Cherokee Nation.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Ms. Callan Watts and then Mr. Keener.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for making time to be here with us in person this morning. And so, have you had an opportunity to read the Free Press Act, and you're familiar with it?
Yes, I have.
Okay. And you support free press within the Cherokee Nation?
With all my heart, yes.
Very good. Do you have any preconceived ideas on a personal level about some of our major issues which might impact your decision-making as a editorial member?
I am a person of opinion. That is why I'm in the business of, I have been in the business for most of my life of print and publication and newspapering. However, I do understand the need to abide by the ethics and rules that are set for our business, and I can set aside those things and be objective and adhere to policy as it needs to be.
Okay. Do you have any issues around, because we have a long fight ahead of us on 3 major issues, the United Katua Band and the protection of our sovereignty there, our water rights, and the citizenship issue. Is there anything around that would become problematic, or is...
No.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Keener.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Clarice. I'm glad to see you here today as well. And I just have two questions. The first being, since you're new to the advisory board, what your thoughts are as far as the day-to-day operations of the paper and what the involvement of the board is with that.
Okay, I have had occasion to speak with the editor and with Mr. Schur, I believe is his name. I spoke with him briefly. And I have reviewed their annual report and understand they have a strategic plan in place for moving the newspaper forward and possibly becoming more revenue solvent. I just look forward to learning more about what goes on in the operations. I understand we are a policy-setting board, and therefore that's what I believe my role will be.
Okay. And how, and maybe you may not be able to speak specifically to day-to-day operations, but what would more be your, maybe a thought on that?
Well, I believe what we have to concentrate on expanding the communication among the Cherokee people, regardless of where they live. Communication is a very important role of any government, and as the Cherokee Phoenix has proven in the past, sometimes in the good times and sometimes in bad times, you know, if we cannot communicate, we cannot be self-governed. And I believe in that very strongly, and would look to push that agenda, if that is an agenda. I think it's a worthy agenda to push objectivity and unbiased reporting so that we can get the story out to all the people.
And that would apply to editor and staff as well?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. One more question. As you've probably seen since you've reviewed the Phoenix, they do operate on a tight budget.
That's correct.
And you sort of answered this already, but you would be willing to go outside the tribal funding and look for other sources of revenue?
That's correct. I believe that is necessary in the day and age that we live in when you talk about the media.
Okay. Thank you, Clarice. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Keener. Any other questions? All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Ms. Lowell, for being here. Okay, item 5 confirms the nomination of Harold Ray Sam Hart as a board member of Cherokee Nation Business. Mr. Hart, thank you for being here today. Mr. Thornton, did you want to bring that forward?
Yes, I'd like to bring this forward. I've known Mr. Hart for a number of years. I've served on board with him, on boards with him, and I appreciate the work that he's done. And I know that he's serving on the board now for Cherokee Nation. But anyway, I'd like to bring his nomination forward.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Cal Watts?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So on your resume, it shows that you still own Hart Funeral Homes?
No, ma'am. As of last year, I sold the 3 funeral homes.
Okay.
Right.
So can you tell me, during this last election, did you donate to any of the chief candidates?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Okay. Do you have any conflict of interest concerning other tribes, specifically like the United Kituah Band of Delaware or the Shawnee? Okay. Do you have you ever been either banned by choice or otherwise from the casinos or anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have on your there'll be like a polygraph test and there'll be a number of defense for the contracting and such?
Yes, ma'am.
So you'll be able to pass all the background
Yes, ma'am.
checks and all those other issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if somebody asked you in your role as a Cherokee Nation Businesses Board to do something which might not necessarily be illegal but maybe unethical, what would your response be?
No, ma'am. I might do that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam
Thank you.
Speaker.
Mr. Baker?
Yes, I would like to ask for a friendly amendment to his nomination, the same one that I asked for last night at Tribal Council for members, that it's subject to the final top secret facility clearance level being granted to Cherokee Nation Businesses and Cherokee Nation Technology Service.
You made that motion. You accept that amendment?
Oh, yes, I would prefer that we do it to all businesses.
Okay.
People that's up for this business.
Tiny.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Can we go ahead and do that?
yes.
Can we just,
Ready for it. Any
can we
other time?
just make that part of every motion?
Just make it part
Is
of
that all right, Mr.
Yes.
Baker?
Okay. That'd be fine.
Any other questions for Mr. Hart?
I do have one.
Yes.
Sam, I know you serve on another board. Are you planning on leaving
Resigning.
that board at
Yes,
the
ma'am.
time that you
Serve on the
take?
tax commission right now, and I plan on resigning from that.
Thank you.
All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call.
Lee Keener,
Aye. Yes.
Dick Lay,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
David Walkingstick,
Yes.
Kara Cowan Watts,
No.
Bill England,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
No.
Jody Fishington,
Yes.
Meredith Rayleigh,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Frankie Hargis,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Connie Glory Jordan.
Yes.
We have 14 yes and 2 no.
14 yes, 2 no, the nomination is approved. Thank you.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, item 6 confirms the nomination of Gary Cooper as a board member of Cherokee Nation Business.
Hello.
Ms. Fulbright, you're listed first. Did you want to bring that forward?
Yes. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Cooper for the last couple of years at New Year's Eve party and visiting with him. And I think he'll do us a good job, and I'm happy to bring his name forward. And I'd like to urge everybody to vote for him.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Count Watts and then Ms. Hargis as a sponsor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Cooper, nice to meet you in person.
Nice
Thank you
to
for
meet
the
you.
phone call. I
Thank
know we
you.
played phone tag, but I appreciate you reaching out. On your resume, it doesn't have a graduation date on college, so.
No, I
is there-
never graduated college. I got married when I was 19. I went in business then. I was been it for 10 years. I had 3 kids before I was 21. And so, you know, I got 2 years night classes then and stuff like that, but I never
Okay.
finished college.
I thank you for the clarification. So can you tell me a little bit about your qualifications for the business board?
Well, I've been on a lot of boards since the last 20 years. And right now, I'm on the Lake Region Board, and I've been there for 12 years. I've been the board president for 4 years. I've been on a lot of other boards, but that's the main board I can think of. Now, we're in charge of 70 employees. We have $80 million in assets, and we have big budgets, so it's,
Okay.
I work good with people.
Very good. Can you tell me if you have any conflicts of interest where you have existing business relationships or past business relationships with the United Katua Band or?
No, I've never done any business with any
Okay.
Indian tribe.
Okay, but you are a Cherokee Nation
Yes.
citizen. And so also, how would you feel if anybody came up to you and asked you to do something illegal or unethical in your role as CNB board member?
Well, I've been approached several times with different things, and the answer is always no.
Very good, thank you. So on your, so I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. If you'll give me a moment, I'm sorry. So, can you maybe tell me how much time you'll have to commit with your businesses towards this role?
Well, I can take whatever time that has to be done for this board.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Thank you for being here. Item 7 confirms the nomination of Jerry Holderby as a board member of C&B. Mr. Hoskin, you're listed first. Do you want to bring that forward?
Well,
Don't fight over it.
Well, Councilman Thornton and I were fighting over it because we both support the nomination of Mr. Holderby, and I would move for his approval.
Mr. Holder, you want to come forward? Do I have a
I'll
second? Moved in second. Any discussion? Any questions for Mr. Holderby? Yes, Ms. Callen-Watt?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hello, Mr. Holderby.
Good morning.
Hi. Could you talk to me about your prior relationships with Cherokee Nation and Cherokee Nation, what is now Cherokee Nation Businesses or Cherokee Nation Entertainment?
I forget the year, but anyway, I was appointed as the CEO of Cherokee Nation Enterprises, Cherokee. Gaming, covered the gaming and the retail departments. And I was in that position for almost 5 years. And during that time, we kind of went from bingo to the gaming machines. We were the first tribe in Oklahoma to change our name from Bingo Outpost to Casino, Cherokee Casino. And we went from about 300 or 400 employees to probably 700 or 800, something of that nature. We initiated the talks with Governor Keating's office on the compact that's now in place. And I left there in December of 2001.
Okay. And so, when you left, do you have any preconceived, you don't have any, I know there's still employees that were here during your time, so I want to make sure there's no bridge of continued personnel issues, or there's nothing, no agenda.
Oh, well, not on my part.
Okay, very good, very good. So do you have any existing or past relationships with the United Katua Band, Shawnees or Delawares?
The Katua Band, I work for Bank of Cherokee County now, and the Katua Band does some business with the Bank of Cherokee County. I'm not the primary officer on it, but they do business with us.
But you haven't.
And I'm not an owner of the bank.
Okay, but you have not worked for or done business with or served on any boards for the UKB?
No.
Okay. And so if you're presented with a situation where it's illegal or unethical in your role as Cherokee Nation Businesses board member, what would be your response?
Well, I just couldn't do it.
Okay. And
I guess.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you,
thank you.
Mr. Holderby. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Holderby? Oh, Mr. Thornton, sorry.
Not really a question. I'm make a little statement here. I was appointed to CNE board in '97. After that, Jerry was hired in and served for about 5 years. When he was hired in, we had some problems in CNE. We had some corruption going on. Jerry run some money down that was hid out somewhere, but anyway, Jerry took that over when we was in the hole and brought it forward and started in on the gaming side and run the casinos and did an excellent job and brought it from zero to several $1 million. So thank you, Jerry. I appreciate what you've done there. And I just want people to know that this boy has worked with the casinos and for the casinos and for the people, and he's done all he could for the people of Cherokee Nation, and I'm proud to sponsor him. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Snell.
I've known Jerry for several years. I know Jerry, he worked at the bank and elsewhere, but Jerry's been a real honest and good working man for the Indian people. And I know that he will do a good job here, and I'll be working for Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snell. Ms. Coates?
Yes. Did you donate to either of the candidates for chief in this last campaign, and if so, how much?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Holderby, would you like to say a few words since you're an old hat at this?
Well, this kind of brings back memory of the committees I used to address once a month, but I am honored to be asked to serve for the Cherokee people again. I have a very strong feeling about the Cherokee Nation, especially the sovereignty of the Cherokee Nation, jurisdiction of the Cherokee Nation, and what we can and cannot do. And I think there's very little that we cannot do. and a lot that we can do. And I just thank you for allowing me to be part of it again.
Thank you for being here. All in favor of this nomination signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
And I couldn't get them all, so you can roll call.
Kara Cowan Watts,
No.
Bill Englund,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
No.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Frankie Hargis,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Tina Gloria Jordan,
Yes.
Lee Keener,
Yes.
Dick Lay,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
David Walkenstick. We have 14 yes and 2 no.
14 yes, 2 no. The nomination is confirmed. Okay, moving on to item 8 is confirms the nomination of Rick Doherty as a CNB board member. Ms. Fishinghawk, you want to bring that forward?
Yes, this is a resolution nominating Rick Doherty for CNB board, and I move for its approval.
Moved in second, any discussion? Ms. Cowan Watts?
I believe you serve on waste management?
Cherokee Nation Home Waste Management, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you'll be prepared to resign
Resign from that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you have any conflicts of interest potentially with that you need to disclose concerning the United Katua Band or
No, ma'am.
Shawnee's Villas? Okay, and did you donate to anyone in the last campaign, and if
No,
so,
ma'am.
how much? And then also, what would you do, just because I know you, so
Yeah,
this is,
sure.
I know new deacon too, so it's a little bit different. But of course, this is a much bigger role
Sure.
on Cherokee Nation businesses. So could you talk to us a little bit about how you're qualified for this role? And
Well, I've been involved in many boards and commissions, and then what I've overseen for about the last 7 years is a business that I took with 3 employees and writing about $2 million in the bail bond business to 22 employees writing around $18 million in the bail bond business. So I do understand business aspects in this and that. My work takes me from some of the poorest parts of the Cherokee Nation to some of the most prosperous parts of the Cherokee Nation. And I know that there are different solutions for helping each area that we can, and it's not a one-size-fits-all policy. And I know the importance of jobs and how we need jobs, and make that my #1 concern, and try to do that.
okay, thank you so much, Rick. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ms. Hargis? I'd like to ask what's the sponsor? You sponsor? Any other questions or comments for Mr. Doherty? Yes, Mr. Thornton?
Well, I know that Mr. Doherty has served on the election board. I know that he's very honest, and I was in on the count with him, that he watched the count and made sure everything was straight, and I really appreciate that. And I appreciate the job that you did on the election board, and I'm proud to represent you as a sponsor.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments? All in favor of this nomination signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we've already approved number 9, so moving on to 10, confirms the nomination of Lyle Burris as a board member of the Cherokee Nation Administrative Appeals Board. Mr. Garvin, do you want to bring that forward?
Yes. I've known Len for many years. We used to teach together before he got smart and went to law school. And I always thought about that, but I always wanted to be a cowboy instead.
There you go.
He comes from a great family, and a lot of All-Americans, and I'm sure they talk football all the time. And I remember a score recently, 44-10. They might not know remember that.
I won't talk about that.
He's solid as rock, and he comes with a 4-year warranty. Make a motion to confirm.
Second.
Moved in second. Mr. Thornton?
I won't be put on sponsor.
Mr. Thornton wants to sponsor. Ms. Count Watts?
I want to be added as a sponsor.
Ms. Gloria Jordan? Did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Ms. Burris.
All right.
Thank you for being here today
Thank you.
and for your willingness to want to serve the Cherokee people. So, do you have any preconceived ideas on labor law that we need to understand? Because this appeals board is very important.
No, not at all.
Okay. Are you familiar with the constitutional mandates protecting our employees?
I've read the act several times.
The Taro Act?
Right.
Okay, so are you familiar with the constitutional requirement that once an employee has been employed for a year, they're protected whether?
Tenure?
Yes.
No.
So you wouldn't have any problem, though, protecting the rights of our employees?
No. Just, well, in any case, you take the law and the evidence and you apply the law to the evidence, and that's when you come up with a decision. So that's the only thing you can base any type of hearing on, is that, the law and the evidence, and then to reach a fair and impartial decision.
Okay, very good. And so do you have any potential conflicts of interest where you've done business today or in the past with the United Katua Band or Shawnees or Delawares?
Not me, no.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Burris, for being here.
Thank you.
Item 11 confirms the nomination of John Garrett as a Cherokee Nation
Angela
Game.
Jones.
Huh?
You're one ahead.
Am I one ahead? What did you say, Mr. Burris? Oh, sorry. This confirms the nomination of Angela Jones as a Cherokee Nation Administrative Appeals Board member. Mr. Walking Stick, you want to bring that forward?
Sure. It's the nomination of Angela Jones as a board member of the Cherokee Nation Administrative Appeals Board.
Do you have a second? Moved in second. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Calm-Watts?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hi.
Hi.
It shows on there that you are on the United Katua Band Tribal Court?
No, I am not on the United Katua Band Tribal Court. I am.
Or on the Juvenile Court?
I accept court-appointed cases where I represent parents who go before the court whose children have been put in some type of foster care type setting, and the parents who are not able to afford counsel.
Okay, could you talk to me about any other involvement with United Katua Band or any other tribes?
That's my only involvement with any other tribe.
Okay. So have you had a chance to read the constitutional provisions protecting employees and the Taro law?
Yes, I have had an opportunity to read that.
Do you have any preconceived notions or ideas that might impact the protections provided our employees or the tribe?
No, I have no preconceived ideas or opinions. I believe my role would be to be fair and impartial and interpret and apply the laws as set out in the Cherokee Nation Code and the Constitution.
Thank you for your time today.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Did you want to say a few words?
Well, I will say just for, I know that you all probably have my resume, but my name is Angela Jones. I'm from Tahlequah. I am a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. I graduated high school from Tahlequah High School. I obtained my bachelor's degree from Northeastern State University. I obtained my law degree from the University of Tulsa. I have been an attorney for approximately 16 years. I have practiced as a prosecutor in the Muskogee District Attorney's Office. I've practiced as a prosecutor in the Cherokee County District Attorney's Office, but the majority of my time has been spent in private practice. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be here before each of you.
All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, item 12 confirms the nomination of John Garrett as a Cherokee Nation Gaming Commissioner. Ms. Fishing Hawkins from your district, you want to say? Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is a resolution confirming the nomination of John Garrett as Commissioner of the Cherokee Nation Gaming Commission, and I put that in the form of a motion.
And Ms. Harvey, second. Any discussion? Ms. Calm-Watt?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So you serve on the United Kituah Band Supreme Court?
I did. I have
did?
resigned, yes.
Okay, so as a gaming commissioner, when it comes to protecting our sovereign boundaries, when you've served for the UKB Supreme Court, how do you feel about the United Kituah Band's claims to land in our jurisdiction?
Well, if I become and am approved as a gaming commissioner, my loyalty is, of course, to the Cherokee Nation.
So it just depends on who you work for?
Well,
I mean, I'm sorry, this is an extremely important role.
it is.
So when I saw your resume, I was extremely alarmed, to be frank.
Mm-hmm.
Other than, because I don't know how to overcome this, if you've served in such an important role for the UKB, that you would be put in such a critical role to protect the tribe in respect to gaming.
Well, once again, I come back to the fact that if I am a commissioner, I have a duty to perform, and I will do that duty. I will perform that duty.
Okay, did you donate to any of the chief candidates?
I did.
And to whom and how much?
To Chief Baker, $2,000.
Okay. Other than what other relationship with the United Kituah Band or any other tribes you had or do you have today?
I have no other relation.
Okay. So you're a Cherokee Nation citizen?
Oh, yes.
Are you a United Kituah Band citizen
No.
as well? Can you talk to me about your qualifications in general for this board position or the gaming commission?
Well, I think just my 40 years of legal experience, both as a judge and as a practicing attorney, would certainly qualify me. And I have had some business experience, but was way back in my earlier days before I went to law school.
Have you had a chance to read the National Indian Gaming Act?
I have.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Garrett.
You're welcome.
Appreciate
Thank
being
you.
here.
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Garrett? Mr. Garrett, Ms. Coates, sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall because I think that some years ago, were you not the individual who signed an order that allowed the United Kituah Band's casino to stay open
Well,
despite the fact of...
I was the district judge at that
Mhm.
time. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. Even though on the face of things, there appeared to be some issues about the legality of that casino.
Well, at the time, and as a district judge, you don't really get to pick your cases. They come to you. You apply the law and the facts of the case and make a determination. And I might add, in that particular case, that was removed to the Eastern District Federal Court, and the federal judge affirmed my ruling on that matter.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all, Ms. Coates?
That is, thank you.
Mr. Hoskins?
I withdraw, Madam Speaker. He's addressed it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Roll call. Yes, is you favor the nomination.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Frankie Hargis,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Tina Gloria Jordan,
Yes.
Lee Keener,
No.
Dick Lake,
Yes.
Curtis Snell, David Thornton,
Yes.
David Walkingstick,
Yes.
Kara Callan Watts,
No.
Buell England,
No.
Jack Baker,
No.
Julia Coates,
No.
Jody Fishing Hawk,
Yes.
Meredith Rayleigh,
No.
Janelle Fulbright.
Yes.
Ten yes and 6 no.
10 yes, 6 no, the confirmation is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
for being here. Okay, item 13, confirm the nomination of Charles Head as Secretary of State. Mr. Lay, do you want to bring that forward?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Yeah, this nomination for Charles Head as Secretary of State of the Cherokee Nation.
Second.
Moved in second, discussion. Ms. Count Watts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hi, Mr. Head. How are you doing
Morning.
today?
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here in person. And I know from our recent interactions with your role at the Bureau of Indian Affairs that you are timely in your responses and you're candid, so I appreciate that. Can you tell me if you have any existing or past relationships and what they are with the United Kituah Band, Shawnee, or Delaware that might color your role going forward as Secretary of State?
I don't believe I have any that would affect my role if confirmed here at the tribe. The only actual interaction that I've had is in my role as an employee of the Bureau of Indian Affairs for the Eastern Oklahoma region. Direct interaction between all of the tribes in the region.
Okay. And how do you feel about United Kituah Band's assertion for land into trust within our jurisdictional boundaries?
Number one, I recused myself from all of the decisions involving those transactions and have not had any direct involvement in that one decision and the application that's moving forward now. My position is to fully support the official policy and law of the Cherokee Nation, whatever that might be. That would be my role on any issue involving any job that I might have here at the Nation. So I have no problems with fully supporting with all of my effort whatever that policy or law of the tribe might be.
So theoretically, because the Secretary of State is a constitutional position, the chief's directives could conflict with what the law or policy of the Cherokee Nation might be. But your role as Secretary of State is to the law and policy and not necessarily to the chief's directives. So how would you handle that should they conflict?
I will always defer to following the official tribal policy or law 100% of the time.
Very good. Could you talk to me about your past roles in the Cherokee Nation and describe what those were like?
Started out when I first came to the tribe as an accountant in the accounting department. I've served as the manager of accounting, as the controller, of the director of finance. I had a lot of years' experience working with the Office of Self-Governance here at the tribe in the early years of developing the self-governance program, both with the Indian Health Service and with the Department of Interior. I spent a lot of time working on self-governance, a lot of years working in developing the self-governance program. I was instrumental in filing the first Contract Disputes Act claim against Indian Health Service on indirect cost, of which we eventually took to the Supreme Court and won. Anything else?
Thank you for that.
Anything else you'd like to know?
Could you speak to me on the Friedman issue?
Ms. Count, sorry, time's up, 3 minutes.
Okay, Secretary of State's extremely critical. I mean, I want to hear about the Friedman issue from him.
3 minutes.
Would you waive your time?
We're on the line, 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So on the Friedman issue and our citizenship, our right to determine our own citizenship is the basic inherent right of sovereignty. Can you talk to us about how you would defend us on that issue?
Well, number one, I have to defer to the lawyers in general, but once again, I'm going to apply my entire being with supporting the laws and the policies of this tribe, whatever those might be, as long as I can be assured that we're acting in a legal manner. That's the direction that I need to take, no matter what the issue is, whether it's the Friedman issue, the UKB, Shawnee, Delaware, or any other issue.
But our sovereignty and our laws would be paramount to maybe others. You wouldn't just bow to the paternalistic idea of the BIA or Department of Interior or feds.
Well, it's my opinion that following the law of the United States is not bowing to the paternalistic position of the United States.
So you're just immediately, whatever they say, we would never challenge it.
No, I'm not saying that we don't challenge anything. We challenge everything as we do on any issue to put forth our position. And then normally it defers to the courts. And I'm not a lawyer, so, and I don't ever claim to be a lawyer.
So just to make sure that my mind's clear, so what I heard you say was, just because the feds say that it should be so, doesn't mean we're just gonna take that as, that's it, we would challenge it.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Lay?
Thank you. Mr. Head, good to see you. I remember you years ago in your work with the tribe previously, by the way. And I've talked with you over the phone quite a bit. We talked for about 30 minutes, and I asked you the question, have you been infected or institutionalized while your time at the BIA? And your answer was?
I have recovered.
Yeah. We're in sort of a discussion at this time with the BIA, in particular one gentleman who seems, in my mind, to be an academic and who's trying to sort of end-run decades of tradition and settle law, in my opinion. And I think that we need your help in order to deal with some of these questions that are coming up. You've been inside the law, you've seen them work, and I know that you'll help us a great deal, and I'm glad that you're coming on with it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Lay, thank you. Mr. Hoskin?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a comment, really. I look at your resume and remember you from, I think, when my father served. I think you may have been serving for Cherokee Nation at that time, and I think it's this time in our history to have a person with this background who knows how to deal with the federal government, because that's what the Secretary of State needs to do from time to time, knows how to deal effectively with other tribal nations. This is very important, and I think we're very fortunate to have someone with this depth of experience, and so you have my full endorsement. It's difficult to pose to you these vague propositions and ask for your positions on them and really get much from that. I think we've got to look at your record, and your record demonstrates that you've got a tremendous amount of experience dealing with other nations, and that's what the Secretary of State does. And so, Madam Speaker, I think we're very fortunate, and I certainly endorse his nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoskin. Mr. Thornton and then Ms. Coates.
Mr. Head, I just barely remember.
Excuse me?
I just barely remember. Okay? I'm fairly old, but I just came into the nation at the time. I don't know if he was leaving, but he was here for a couple of years. But my statement to you and question is that there are council people on this council that don't truly trust the BIA. And I would like to know, when you step down from that role, are you going to make decisions for this nation? Or are you going to follow what the BIA has to say?
By all means, I'm going to fully support with all my being the Cherokee Nation. One of the things that I took with me when I went to work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs was that I was a tribal person first and a Fed second. And I have tried to honor that philosophy in my dealings with all of the tribes that I've worked with in this region and across the country. And once again, I fully support this tribe and what we're trying to do here and what we need to do to protect the tribe. And that would be what I'd be doing with my entire being.
Just how much would you support the Kituwa tribe, since they have been brought into as a sovereign tribe? I guess they're a man since the 1950s, and the Cherokee Nation has been here, since 1830s, and I'm not too sure about this, Kituwa tribe coming in and trying to take our land and trying to start gaming. I want to know just how are you going to support the Cherokee Nation on those subjects?
Well, first, let me just say that, number one, I have friends that work at the United Kituwa Band, I've worked with him closely over the years in 638 contracting issues and providing technical assistance. I do not personally support their having land into trust within our sovereign boundaries in any way, shape, or form. I was previously worked for the tribe, and not in any direct role, but previously the tribe had similar battles against the Delaware tribe, and we prevailed. And hopefully we'll prevail again.
Well, I've already heard statements from the Delaware tribe and the Shawnee tribe that, you know, if the Catawbas can take land in trust, why can't we, you know, within the boundaries of Cherokee Nation? So this is something that we're going to be fighting, and it's going to be ongoing, and it is never going to stop as long as we have these other tribes within our jurisdiction. And I appreciate what you say that you're going to support, and that probably will get my vote for you.
Thank you.
Ms. Coates.
Thank you. I have a question that is coming off of what Mr. Thornton just said, but it's a little bit more specific. And as I'm sure you know, we operate under a constitution that was passed by the majority of the Cherokee people in 2003. It was implemented by an order of our Supreme Court, or Judicial Appeals Tribunal, as it was called at that time, in 2006. And this year, as I'm also sure you know, we received a very threatening letter from the Assistant Secretary Echo Hawk, your boss at this time, that implied that in the view of the Bureau, we may not actually be functioning under that Constitution, but rather under the 1975 Constitution. As I'm sure you're aware, the position that you're nominated for today is created, in fact, by the new Constitution. And so I guess my question to you is that this, after operating under the new Constitution here for 5 years, with no real, challenge to that from the Bureau, suddenly the Assistant Secretary pulls this out as a threatening sort of tool at a very critical moment in our election to basically make something happen, in my opinion at least, that the Assistant Secretary wanted to happen. Should the Assistant Secretary decide to wield that threat again at some point in the future, because perhaps the Cherokee Nation isn't quite doing things the way he thinks we should be, as the Secretary of State, in an office created by that Constitution, what would be your level of commitment to the defense of our 2003 or 2006 implemented Constitution?
I can't speak for the Assistant Secretary, and he doesn't, so far he hasn't asked my opinion on anything, but if I am honored enough to be accepted in this job, and I do accept the job personally myself, you have 150% commitment from me as long as I ride for the brand, so as they say. If I decide to take on the job, you have my full and unfettered commitment to support the tribe, to support the Constitution, and to do what we can to move ourselves forward.
This present Constitution?
Any Constitution. Whatever the tribal government of this organization tells me that is in place. It's not my call to make that decision. It's your all's decision to make. It's my job to support what you all put in place.
Thank you.
Is that all, Ms. Coates?
That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Glory Jordan?
I think probably mine is more of a statement than a question. I've known Charles for probably going on at least 30 years that we've dealt together with tribal issues. I remember him when he worked at Cherokee Nation. I'm just quite excited that he's agreed to accept this appointment with his knowledge and background and experience, knowing that he also has served the BIA and that he will be dealing a lot with issues between us and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I have approximately 6 people in my own family that work for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they, just like Mr. Head, are Cherokee first. and government employee second. And I have no doubt that he will defend us and do it in an admirable way, and I'll be supporting this nomination wholeheartedly.
Thank you, Ms. Lori Jordan. Any other comments? Mr. Head, would you like to say a few words?
Well, I was extremely honored when Chief Baker approached me about coming back to work for the tribe. It's always great to be able to come home again, and that's what it feels like being here. And it's an honor to be here before you all this morning. It would be an honor if you were to confirm me, and it would be great if I get to come back home.
Thank you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
All in favor of this nomination, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, and congratulations. Okay, we moved 1 through 13 up to the front, so we move back to old business. And I-1 is implementation of an IT service for the tribal council. Mr. Hodgson?
Madam Speaker, I'd like to table that for a month.
A motion to table. Do I have a
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. It is tabled till January. Item 2 is development of 15 separate council districts for the tribal council. Discussion only. Mr. Thornton.
Madam Chair, as the GEO data, has any of those people showed up over here?
Oh, yeah. Todd. I think Todd brought some information, Mr. Thornton.
Okay, as soon as he passes it out, I would like to.
You actually have it there in front of you.
As soon as he passes out, I would like to defer this till next month.
We have a motion to table. Do I have a second? And second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion to table carries. Mr. Todd, you act like you really want to say something.
I do.
We'll give you 1 second.
Just quickly, David was unable to be here this morning for this meeting, and so this is a brief analysis that he conducted of a snapshot of the data.
We don't have it.
Nope, sorry. That is a snapshot. And the one thing I would really like to stress to you is that this is basic analysis on county and zip code information only. What we have been working toward and advising you on is our steps to move towards 911 specific addressing. And and there's some additional information on there about what's been going on in Nowata County and the public notices that are going out. We already have boots on the ground in Nowata County. So I provide this with a little bit of hesitation to let you know that I hope you don't make too many decisions moving forward because the 911 specific data for each citizen is what we've been working on. I feel strongly that that's what you should be making your decisions on moving forward for redistricting. But just wanted to make that note.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on down to new business again. Item 14 is a proposed amendment to the rules, the tribal council rules of procedure. Mr. Lay.
Madam Chairman, if I could, I'd like to withdraw.
Withdraw, okay. You're withdrawing item 14. Okay, item 15 is an act amending Title 51 Officers of the Cherokee Nation Code. Ms. Cowan-Watts.
Thank you. I'll move for approval.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Mr. Hembry?
Madam Chairman, in discussing with the Attorney General's office, we believe that there needs to be an amendment to this to avoid some pitfalls. The amendment would be to exclude Indian child welfare cases, adoption proceedings, or deprived child proceedings, because they may somewhat, there could be an argument that they would
affect citizenship rights, and obviously that's not the intent of that. So what I've gotten with the Attorney General, and so the proposed or suggested amendment would be in Section 16 on page 5 of the Act, right before the last sentence, which begins with the last sentence is the purpose of the review is to determine budgetary programming, etc. Right before that sentence, so after the period of tribal council, add these words, provided that this requirement shall not apply to Indian child welfare matters, deprived child proceedings, private guardianships, or adoptions, period.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All mine's clear on that? Ms. Lori Jordan?
Are we in the comment period now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm in opposition to this act, and I'll tell you why. Because we just passed a law that does the same thing, and the Attorney General has to comply with all laws. So this is redundant. Why do we need to put it in her duties when she's already has the duty to follow and protect all laws that we've passed? It just seems redundant at this point. So I'm in opposition to this act. We don't need to do it. We've already got it on the books.
Any other comments? Ms. Hammonds, would you like to come and comment on this legislation, please?
With the inclusion of the suggested language, I don't have any strong opposition to it. I'm not sure that it's needed. I'm not sure that it's a good amendment, but I don't personally have any objection to it with that addition.
You don't object to the amendment? I'm sorry, I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry. With the inclusion of the Indian child welfare exception, I don't have any strong objection to the amendment.
Okay. Mr. Hoskin?
Do you have any misgivings about it at all, just in your experience as Attorney General and settling cases? Does this present any issues for you?
You know, I don't like it, but I don't think that it, that it does anything that I wouldn't do anyway, or that I don't do as a matter of practice, so that's why I don't have any objection to it.
Mr. Hoskin?
That's all. Thank you, Minister.
Mr. Lay?
I guess my question is this replacing anything in the Attorney General's Act? And are those the underlying portions? And if so, you know, at this point, it looks like if we're going to overlay new legislation onto the Attorney General's Act, perhaps we should just stop right now and try to go through the Attorney General's Act to see where we stand totally in total on the Attorney General's Act itself. Because I think it appears to me we just keep overlaying legislation that has been previously brought. And sometimes I wonder if that new legislation undoes and or creates problems that the old one fixed or didn't fix. I'd just like to have your ideas on that.
You know, I don't know. As I said, I don't particularly like it. I don't think that there's any legal infirmity with it. With the removing the Indian child welfare cases from its application, I think it's within your purview to pass. I don't see any legal infirmity with it.
And I guess I could follow that up to the author of the legislation to explain to me what we're doing.
Ms. Callen-Watts, did you want to?
So that's what I was in line to try to speak to. So, you know, a lot of times we address something somewhere, but we don't provide consistency throughout with the rest of the legislation to make sure that all legislation concurs. So when I asked our council attorney, Mr. Hembry, he brought this to my attention, that this was also something we needed to address since codification's not complete. It does look, it's not maybe as efficient. It doesn't appear to be very eloquent. But we're not, without codification, we're not in a place, we have to go through and we're gonna have to do these detailed work. And with our citizenship issues being so important, I know, and I'm comfortable with Ms. Hammonds as our Attorney General, but I don't know if that is going to continue or not, so we can't personalize it to an individual. We have to set policy for the Cherokee Nation and for those roles, for that office she holds, but not for her. This is not about Ms. Hammonds. We know she's gonna do her job, or at least I feel confident she's gonna do her job. But I wanna make sure that anyone in that position in the future would also take the same perspective that we have on our citizenship and our inherent right to determine that citizenship. And from the news reports, I don't have confidence right now that that is going to be carried out, because there appears to have been deals struck with the so-called Cherokee freedmen descendants and these groups. And I want to know that the Attorney General's office is going to uphold what the Cherokee people voted on in our Constitution. And so we need to address this within this act, and it provides consistency for what we've already passed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mr. Lay, did that answer your question?
Not really. I'm still not sure where we're going with this versus what we've already got. It seems like we've already got an act. I'm not sure I agree totally with that act. And that's one reason we just keep overlaying new laws on top of the old ones until we just get so conflicted. Any Attorney General may be conflicted about where they jump next. And so I guess I'm gonna have to vote no on this, or not support it. Not because I don't wanna make sure that we have all of our officers doing what they're supposed to do. I guess that's your intention here. But we seem to be overlaying new laws over old laws instead of fixing, correcting, and or going through and perhaps re-looking at the Attorney General's Act itself.
Thank you. Ms. Gloria Jordan?
I just want to ask Diane one question. Diane, did you not take an oath to enforce all laws that are on our books, and to enforce it with vigor? Won't anyone in your position be required to take the same oath?
Yes.
So this is already law. And I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Lay. We're overlaying law into law. You're already required to do this by law, by an act that we have passed. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Kelm Watts?
No, I wanted to speak to the issues that brought up, so I think I've done that. Thank you.
Ms. Coates?
I'm missing the part where we have a law on the books that says that any settlement in a court comes before this body. It appears that was done a couple of months ago without this body knowing anything about it. And that's the part that I don't see reflected anywhere in our laws. And without being critical of the Attorney General and her perspective at that time, I do think that the perspective of this body is also an important component when we are potentially entering into settlements on these very, very major issues that come up. So for me, that's the critical part of this act that I don't see actually being covered anywhere thus far in Cherokee Nation law, and that's why I will be supporting it.
Thank you, Ms. Coates. Mr. Thornton?
Yes, I'd like to hear from Todd.
Yes, sir.
I have a question on the settlements in court. If it comes before this body after the settlement, is it just for information wise?
No, I mean, with the wording of the act is that that before a a settlement becomes effective or injunctive relief granted, that it will be required to come to this body for review and approval. So therefore, it wouldn't be just for informational purposes. If it's a settlement that would impact the citizenship requirements or result in the allowance of land in the trust within our jurisdiction, it would have to come, before it could be blessed, it would have to be approved by this body.
What is your opinion of the purpose of this act?
The purpose of this act is that if there's any major settlement, in the keyword settlement, that we abide by orders of the court, no matter what. Okay, I mean, if we go to trial on something and we lose, that's the order of the court. We will follow court decisions. This is that if there's an accord reach or a settlement reach, that before it becomes effective on major issues, and those issues now would include citizenship requirements, land and trust issues, and also the same language that is there about if it would substantially affect the budgetary worthiness of the Cherokee Nation, that it would have to come to this body.
How can this body change that decision?
Well, it can't change the decision, it just vetoes it. Much like an example of the same type of legislation is we have the, several years ago we passed the Consent to Litigation Act, and where it gave the authority to the executive branch to come in and file a lawsuit if need be. But they have to come back and get council approval or consent to that litigation, and the council would have every right to say, we don't give you that consent, so therefore that litigation goes away. Same purpose here, is that they could reach an agreement and say, this is in the best interest of the Cherokee Nation, but if it involves one of those major components, they come back to this nation or to this council and say, we need your agreement to this, and we either give it or not.
Do you, as our attorney, are you backing this duties of the Attorney General? Are you backing this as an act?
Well, again, I'll
do the Attorney General act?
I will refrain from giving my personal opinion. I'm not a counselor, but I will tell you this: is that I have
a counselor who wrote this act.
As the attorney that wrote this out, it's a constitutional act, and for the last 12 years, I have always tried to press the rights, the responsibilities, and the duties of the legislative branch completely. Anytime that we can strengthen the legislative branch, I have always been in favor of that.
You think that this strengthens?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Decision. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hoskin.
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. My misgivings about this is because of the logistical challenges it would pose for the Attorney General. So, Madam Attorney General, it's one thing if we're talking about a final court order. It's not a settlement, it's a decision in a case. That's not what's at issue here. We're not ratifying it, let's say a federal court order. But if you're in the room representing the Cherokee Nation, as you're obliged to do it in the Constitution, and there is at least a proposal for an agreed upon order, temporary order, maybe an injunction, the judge, can you see a federal judge saying, Madam Attorney General, we've got one attorney here for Cherokee Nation, we don't need 17 more. And if you need to go ask those other 17 attorneys what the nation's opinion is, then I'm going to go ahead and enter this order anyway, because as a federal judge, I've got the power to do that. I mean, isn't that realistic that that could happen?
I don't read the act as requiring this body's approval for temporary injunctions. I think it requires approval for ultimate settlement of the issues, which this body should always be consulted on settlement of major issues, and has been.
And the existing law actually provides for that, does it
Correct.
not?
I think so.
Okay, and that goes to Council-lady Lord Jordan's point that we already have legislation to do that. We're not talking about something that's in the nature of a temporary injunction, as you just said. What did they say?
You know, as we did in the tribal court case in 2007, that was never questioned, and I agreed to the temporary order, as I did at the hearing in September. Those are not final settlement of the issue. Those are agreed to in a court hearing or in a issue presented before the judge that doesn't affect the ultimate outcome.
Thank you. Todd, do you agree that this addresses that form of injunctive relief, not a temporary order, an interim order in the middle of a case?
And I would. I mean, settlement is the final resolution of it. I mean, we do not, during the, I'm not going to say anything. The settlement, a settlement is the final resolution of the matter. Now, if we were to read this where this applies to, predisposition orders, attorneys come to settlements on the process of a case all the time. And I think that's what it's intended to do, is that if this is going to be a permanent change in the circumstances of how the government runs, whether budgetary, whether it's citizenship requirements, whether it's land and trust issue, this is the final bailiwick, so to speak. It needs to come back here for council blessing.
Then that resolves my misgivings over the logistical problems it would pose for an attorney general who's in the room with the federal judge and the opposing party for some temporary injunction. It's clear that this legislation doesn't embrace that, but it also reinforces what Council-Lady Gloria Jordan said, that this is, I think, redundant and I think unnecessary. So I think for that reason I oppose it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Fishing-Hall?
Tom, is this not what the act we passed 2 months ago at council does?
I don't have the act in front of me, but I know that it required that the main thrust of the act was land and trust issues, that an elected official was required to object to land and trust issues, and that the council would have to give its consent. And I'll just be honest, I don't know if we had citizenship requirements in that act or not. And I would just defer to what the act says. I can't remember it. We can get it.
Okay. Why would we pass two acts that say the same thing?
Well, number one, I don't know if it says the same thing. I know that this one deals with citizenship requirements and land and trust issue, and I know the other one dealt with land and trust issue. I don't remember if it dealt with citizenship requirements, so it may not necessarily be the same thing. But the deal is even if we did, we do need to be consistent in our laws, and we want to make sure that we say the same thing in each categories, because believe you me, laws can be inconsistent, and when lawyers find inconsistent laws, they will make arguments on that. So there's I don't think any prohibition about passing redundant laws when they all say the same thing.
Call for question. Question has been called. Does anybody have another comment?
Let's just roll
This is
call.
an act.
Roll call.
This is an act, so roll call. Yes, as you support the legislation.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
Yes.
Jody Fishing-Hawk,
No.
Meredith Fraley,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
No.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Frankie Hargis,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
No.
Tina Gloria Jordan,
No.
Lee Keener,
Yes.
Dick Lay,
No.
Curtis Snell,
No.
David Thornton,
Yes.
David Walkingstick, Kara Cowan Watts,
Yes.
Bill England.
Yes.
We have 8 yes and 8 no.
8 yes and 8 no, the motion fails.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, thank you. Okay, item 16 is an act amending the Administrative Procedures Act. Ms. Gloria Jordan.
Yes, this is an act that makes what I am calling a small correction to the Administrative Procedures Act, it was brought to my attention by several constituents that came to me that said that they had been through that process and did not realize that they weren't going to get all three judges sitting together, which is called an en banc type setting. And I said, well, my understanding is that does happen. Well, I checked into it and honestly found out that when we send TARO grievances through, when we send employee grievances through, they were not being given the opportunity to have all three judges, and so I brought this correction in the form of this law to this body. And what it reads is, any party to agency proceedings or any party to judicial review or civil enforcement proceedings under this act shall have a matter decided by administrative judges en banc. I made a slight error there, and so I want to stop at that point and not put if so requested. I meant for that body to always set as a group of three, which is what I thought the Employee Appeals Board was. And so that's what I'm putting forth, and I put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Moved in second. Ms. Count Watts?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So before I ask questions, I want to make sure my mind's clear. This means every time that the Employee Appeals Board meets for an employee grievance, such as what they believe is a wrongful termination, or an appeal of a TARO decision, then all three judges would meet at that time. Okay, do we know what the budgetary impact is? Because I believe they get paid by each meeting, if I recall correctly. And the time consideration, because I know Councilman Baker and I, as chair and co-chair of Executive and Finance, get the notices specifically for TARO, and those have been numerous. And then my other question would be, I don't know if the sponsor can answer or if somebody else needs to answer, but my other question is, two-part, I guess. They do have an ability to appeal past the decision to the courts, so they're not terminated. That just because they have one judge rather than three or two doesn't mean they're terminated, is the way I understand it, at that decision. And then also, do we know that, I mean, how many times have they been overturned as a single-seated judge? Because at some point we tax the resources of our volunteers, whether they're paid and compensated in any form or not, on the number of times. So if those issues and concerns could be addressed, I would appreciate it before we take a vote. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Do you want them addressed at this time?
Yeah, if they could, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Corey Jordan, can you answer part of those?
I too get the notices from that particular board, and to my knowledge, there has been several instances where that single judge has been overturned by a ruling of a higher court. As to the money, when it comes to employee rights, I am for adding to a budget if we need to do so to make sure that those employees have the full rights afforded to them. It's a hard process for an employee to go through anyway, and I just do not see a problem with giving them three judges to hear their case versus one. At least let's give them a 2 out of 3 chance. If there is a bad termination, we want to right that wrong just as quickly as we can in that employee process, rather than taking a situation and feathering it out for 2 or 3 or 4 years into someone's life. If we can nip it in the bud right there at that first hearing, then we need to do so. So as far as the budget, I believe it will add to their budget. I'm not certain that they will need additional money, but when it comes to employee rights, I would be remiss to believe that anyone on this body would want to shortchange them.
Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't disagree with the councilwoman, but we have a fiduciary responsibility and a constitutional obligation to know what we're getting into budget-wise. I'm not hearing what that impact would be and where that money would come from if additional monies were needed. I'm not opposed to this at all. I just need to know what we're getting into, and I didn't hear that. There's no quantification of the impact and whether or not we'll have to bring additional money forward and where that will come from. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mr. Hoskin?
Oh, thank you, Madam Speaker. I don't have the numbers. My recommendation is, to the body, is that we pass this, and before the next full council, we have Doug analyze the number of hearings that were held and give us an estimate about what this would have cost in the past year. I suspect it will be manageable given the number of cases. And I agree with Councilor Lloyd Jordan. I mean, TARO and employee rights are important, and those rights cost money, and that cost is something that's worth bearing. And it's not enough to say that if you lose before a single member of this body that you can go to court. We're talking about a great deal of expense for someone to take it to the next level, and some folks, in my experience, not just in Cherokee Nation but other forums, get discouraged, can't afford to bear that cost, don't do it. So it's important that we get some sound decisions by multiple decision makers at this level. We also need to develop a really strong body of administrative law. It's not enough that the courts make these decisions. We really want these commissioners to make the decision in the first instance, and I think having multiple commissioners do that, or board members do that, is important. So I really think this is something that I was, like the councilwoman, I was surprised that this doesn't go on. If you look at a number of states and in the federal government, it's certainly common to have multiple board members making these decisions. So I think it's important that we correct what I think probably was an oversight when the law was first drafted, and I think between now and full council we'll get an accounting, or an estimate rather, from Doug, and I think that estimate will reassure everyone that it's not a substantial expense, and to the extent it is an expense, it's one that is the cost of having a strong TARO law and the cost of having strong employee protections. So I fully support it. Thank you.
Point of information, Madam Speaker, was that a friendly amendment as a requirement of the motion?
No, I think it was a request to have Mr. Evans to have that information before we vote on it in full council.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
I think, I'm not speaking for Mr. Hoskin, but I believe that's what you
You are correct, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Mr. Thornton, did
Yes, as Mr. Hoskins says, it's very expensive going on to a higher court. And what my question would be is, what if that individual happens to win their case in a higher court, and they're off work for 6 months and a year, and Cherokee Nation has to come in and pay for the time that they're off, and they also have to pay their lawyer fees if they go to a higher court, and the court fees. And if that decision can be made at, by these three individuals, then, and you don't want it made, and you just want it made by one, why have but one commissioner on there to make that decision? I'm afraid that I'll have to support this. And I would like to know, ask Todd a question also.
Mr. Henry, are you paying attention?
Sorry, our accountant was talking numbers with me. I appreciate, yes, sir, what was the question?
Todd, in the future, will this act affect anything to do with CNB employees?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
They have, I was been informed that they have a separate administrative policy that for their wrongful terminations. But then at the end of their wrongful termination, at the end of their administrative policy, they still have the right to appeal to district court.
Now, did their wrongful termination go into state court or?
Tribal court.
It goes into tribal court?
Correct.
Okay, it's decided there. And I know that they've been beat several times over there, and it's cost the CNB several $1,000s in each case, and they've ended up having to pay for this and put the person back to work. I know that there's some cases over there that they didn't put them back to work in the same position they was in, but they paid them the same type of money. They paid them the same money. this, I wonder why we have two different courts here.
Well, we don't have two different courts, we have two different procedures. One is the CMB has their own corporate grievance procedure. This is for government employees. Now, the one thing that, but we both funnel, at the end of that procedure, we both would funnel into the Cherokee Nation District Court system. One benefit to this, budgetary matters are always a concern, but one benefit to the en banc, if so requested, is that you would have a greater tendency, in my opinion, to get a more consistent ruling. When you have three minds going at the same at a subject, you usually come up with a more consistent.
Does CMB have 3, 4, 5?
I have no idea what CMB has. I would assume that they have a one ALJ, one administrative law judge per.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments before we vote on? Oh, Mr. Enlow was wanting to talk again.
I'm not catching any breaks from you today, am I? I just wanted to clarify, I'd actually spoken to Laura Adair, who is the administrative person with this review. The judges are paid $200 a month stipend, and they're paid $600 per case. So if that case has 9 hearings, they're still paid $600, and they're also reimbursed for mileage. So and I'm sure Doug will be able to get you a little bit more information on that, on what we actually expended last year, but that's what our expenses are at this point.
Well, thank you, Mr. Enlow.
I'm glad I could come through with something.
Mr. Walton. Question's been called. It is an act, so roll call.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
Yes.
Frankie Hargis. Yes. Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Tina Gloria Jordan,
Yes.
Lee Keener,
Yes.
Dick Lay,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
Yes.
David Thornton,
Yes.
David Walkenstick, Kara Cowan Watts,
Yes.
Bill England,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley.
Yes.
We have 16 yes and 0 no.
Motion carried. Yes.
Be added to it as a sponsor.
Shoot, on be added as a sponsor.
Same here.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Walker, Mr. Hoskins, Ms. Calmont, and Ms. Hargis.
Okay, wait, I got Fishinghawk, Hoskin, Thornton,
Ms. Hargis.
Cowan Watts, and Hargis.
In England.
Peter. Is there anybody that doesn't want to be a sponsor? Okay, item 17, is the amends the Compensation Act. Mr. Hoskin or Ms. Gloria Jordan? Mr. Hoskin, do you want to bring that forward?
I would like to defer to Ms. Gloria Jordan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you probably received 2 opinions in your packet of loose paperwork today. One was an opinion from our counsel, Todd Hembry. Another was an opinion from Chrissy Nemo to the speaker regarding the Travel Reimbursement Act that we had previously passed and whether it conflicted with the Compensation Act. And the decision given by the Attorney General's Act was that when we passed the Compensation Act, we gave because we did not define compensation, we gave the committee some broad latitude that I think this body did not intend to happen. And it was even suggested within the memo from the Attorney General's office that if we were to define compensation in the Compensation Act to specifically exclude travel expenses and stipends, that then it would fall back to our committee to govern ourselves, which is what we have always done in the past. And so in an effort to do this, I worked with Todd to draw up a slight change to the act, the Compensation Committee Act, which reads F, under section 4F, compensation means remuneration received in return for services rendered. This specifically excludes all employment benefits, including but not limited to insurances, travel expenses, travel stipend, or retirement benefit. And I believe by defining what compensation means in the Compensation Act, then the policy that we've always adhered to within our body regarding travel will be covered, and then the Compensation Act will cover, through its committee, compensation regarding this body. And I would put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Moved in second. Mr. Hoskin and then Ms. Callen.
Just briefly, I appreciate Councilman Lloyd Jordan providing this correction. Frankly, I think it was a correction that we really didn't need, but, and with all due respect to the Attorney General's office, I just disagree with that opinion that they issued, but the opinion is, has legal force, and we need to take some action to navigate those waters, and this does that. And I think if we don't do this, then anything we do going forward, whether it's even the smallest tweak to any sort of travel, it would be legally suspect. So we've got to do this, in my opinion, and I fully endorse it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Hoskin. Ms. Callen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm not an attorney, but I agreed with the legal opinion because the way I read the Citizens Compensation Committee report was that the past stipend counted as compensation. So I felt like that we would have to address it in this manner to move forward. So I understand why this is being brought forward, but I know I can't personally support it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I think the intent of the Citizens Committee was that any just carte blanche monthly stipend would in effect be a form of compensation, and they gave us their assessment of where we should be compensation-wise in balancing where we were actually at as a sophisticated government, the workload, the amount of fiscal responsibility and fiduciary duties we have with where we're at in the economy and where the people think elected officials and public servants should be in ramping up the salary over 4 years. So on that, I can't support that because I think this essentially becomes compensation, even though legally, technically, we should be addressing it in this manner. So I understand why it's being brought forward. But the other part of that, beyond that, is the transparency for how we do our jobs, in that if we allow folks to just take a stipend in lieu of logging their travel mileage, then there's no transparency to the job that we do on a daily basis on are we going out into our communities, are we going to meetings as required. The travel logs and the daily mileage sheets are another way for our constituents to be assured that we're actually doing our job. And so that in effect gets us off the hook of being out in the communities and takes away that transparency. So I have issues with that personally because I think that we should be saying we have went from here to here, not just to say that, the $700 or whatever that is every month is actually being its actual use, like that we can show that the mileage, because now it would be forced to where we would go to our accountant and have to show that we actually did that mileage, and if we didn't, then it would be considered compensation, which again begs to the idea that it is compensation if we can't show that we actually utilize $700 a month or some worth of mileage. But there's a number of reasons why I think this becomes very complicated. I appreciate it technically being addressed. If we are going to have this on the books, it needs to be addressed today, but I can't support it for those reasons. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ms. Callen. Mr. Thornton?
Yes, I can support this, and the main reason is that I think that the stipend was taken away for compensation. I think that when they took the stipend away, if you legally look at it, they took all mileage away in the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. And for the council. And I think anything that you claim, and I've been claiming, is probably not legal. And I'm glad that someone brought this forward, because that was the way we was thinking before this was brought forward and when it was brought to our attention. And so I'm gonna have to support this, because I believe that if we don't support it, your travel that you're claiming, whether it be inside your district or inside the nation, is not legal. And so I am supporting this. Thank you.
I'm gonna call for the question because we have people lined up outside wanting to eat.
Ma'am, I've got,
Call for the question.
Sorry?
I had
Okay, make it fast. We're hungry.
well, you know, I mean, once in a while you do that too. One time you gave me 10 seconds to ask a question, and you gave another group 5 minutes to do a speech. So, you know, I'd like to get my 2 cents worth in here. If I could figure out how I would offer a friendly amendment to kill the compensation committee. If we don't have the courage to enact our own raises and explain it to our constituents, then I don't know what we're doing here. We're being cowards. And so I'm not going to support this, because I'd like to kill the compensation committee, and I can't figure out how to make a friendly amendment to do so. Thank you.
This is an act, so roll call. Yes, as you support the act.
Is that a, was he making a friendly amendment?
No.
Lee Keener?
No.
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 Dick White?
Nope.
Curtis Snell?
Yes.
David Thornton?
Yes.
David Walkingstick?
Yes.
Kara Callan Watts?
No.
Bill England?
No.
Jack Baker?
No.
Julia Coates?
No.
Jody Fishing Hawk?
Yes.
Meredith Fraley?
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright?
Yes.
Don Garvin?
Yes.
Frankie Hargis?
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.?
Yes.
Hannah Gloria Jordan?
Yes.
We have 10 yes and 6 no.
10 yes, 6 no. The act is approved. Okay, we move on down to announcements. Are there any announcements? The next schools meeting is January 26th at 1 o'clock.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.